Hey y'all, welcome back. Today we're checking out Manic Street Preachers, the story of the Holy Bible, New British Canon. Well y'all, we start with a warning. Be warned, this one is pretty heavy content-wise, CW, self-harm, mental health issues, eating disorders. Note, guitarist Richey James Edwards will be referred to by the surname Edwards in this video and not James, as per his 1992 name change. This is purely for the sake of clarity. Okay, good to know. Yo, am I gonna cry?
We just want to mix like politics and sex and look brilliant on stage and say brilliant things. We're the most original band, I think, the last 15 years, just because we don't want to do anything that's been done before.
For those that adored the Manic Street Preachers in the early 90s, no other band would ever compare. At first mixing political rhetoric and literary wit with populist glam punk, they kicked back against the impartial, shoegaze, baggy and acid house scenes. And for the first time since the Smiths, they felt like a British band that actually had something to say. Their masterwork, 1994's The Holy Bible, formed of dark metallic post-punk, tangled head-on with the worst impulses of humankind, masterminded by their driving force guitarist, Richey Edwards. But if one gazes too deeply into the abyss, there's a chance they might get lost. This is New British Canon, and this is the story of the Holy Bible.
Okay, y'all. The only time that I've come across Manic Street Preachers is in these videos. I've never listened to them, I guess in the 80s or 90s, whenever they were doing their thing, I didn't know about them. I feel like I remember some controversy between them and some other band. Don't remember what that was. But here we go, y'all. Manic Street Preachers, an introduction. 1986 to 93. Death Sentence Heritage for Real and Roses in the Hospital. Song You Love Us, Manic Street Preachers.
Formed in Blackwood in the south of Wales in the late 80s, Manic Street Preachers were a band of two halves. There was the musically adept half, James Dean Bradfield on lead vocals and guitar, and his cousin Sean Moore on drums. And then there were the lyricists, Nicky Wire, just about competent on bass, and Richey Edwards, in theory their second guitarist, but in a live setting either turned down or unplugged. Edwards, as musically bereft as he was, controlled the Manic's image and press presence. He was their minister of propaganda, and essential to the group. The band always had grand ambitions. In early interviews, they said they'd release a debut double album. It'd sell more than Appetite for Destruction. They'd play Wembley, and then they'd split. No one has ever sacrificed themselves. If we become a success and just throw it away, that is a big statement. Unlike anything else in Britain in 1991, they wore women's blouses, spray painted with situationist slogans like Culture Slut and Death Sentence Heritage. They wore makeup, rarely played for more than half an hour, and on more than one occasion caused a riot. Incredibly well read, they were just as inspired by Albert Camus, Sylvia Plath, George Orwell, and J.G. Ballard as they were The Clash, Sex Pistols, Public Enemy, and Guns N' Roses. Nevertheless, the Manics were iconoclastic to the extreme, never afraid to slaughter a sacred rock and roll cow. Their first single on Heavenly, Motown Junk, featured the chorus lyric,
I was too young anyway, but I would have laughed because I just thought he was a patronising, stupid old man.
And they were always good for a headline. Via interviews, they, but mostly Nicky Wire, had alienated the majority of the British indie rock scene. In particular, Slowdive, The Levellers, and Blur. Bands were written about in the music press as if they would change your life. You go to see them, and there would be 20 people there, and the bands would be fucking shit. Every song total and utter rubbish. We just found it sad and forlorn. Then we would go home and look at our old videos of The Who and The Clash, and that meant so much more to us. Enemy writer Steve Lamacq wasn't convinced by the group's authenticity, believing them to be all talk, no action, and a glammed up punk retread. So Edwards carved For Real into his own arm with a razor blade.
The only bad point was we had to cancel the concert the next day because his arm was falling apart.
Yeah, it must have been hard to play the guitar for a while.
Well, it's always hard to play the guitar.
And yet, the indie music press loved them. By the end of 1992, debut album Generation Terrorists had only gone silver in the UK, rather than the projected 26 times platinum. Despite all the hype and media attention, they were being outsold by groups they had previously ragged on, like Ned's Atomic Dustbin. I think we did it badly, in that we alienated a massive record buying public before we even had a record in the fucking shops.
Yeah, from this, I don't like them. I haven't even heard their music, and I just have a bad taste in my mouth about them. I gotta hand it to them, though. They know how to sell magazines. Any publicity is good publicity, all that. It's unfortunately true. Am I gonna hate them? I don't want to hate them. Okay, boys, continue.
There's a certain type of indie fan who was going, I'm not buying their records. They're cunts. We can really understand that.
Yeah.
Their Hanoi Roxian sound might have gained traction in the US, but both with their songs being a bit too wordy. And the 1992 grunge explosion killing off most interest in glam metal. The album sold a mere 35,000 copies stateside. However, by the start of 1993, in the UK they had still amassed an increasingly rabid fanbase, and 6 top 30 singles, including a number 7 entry for their Metallica-esque cover of the theme from MASH. Despite their promise to split after their first album, the Manic Street Preachers carried on. They learned from the mistakes of their overlong and uneven debut, and went for a more svelte 10 tracks for album number 2. Generation Terrorists is a fucked up album because we tried so hard to make some songs rock FM. No band in our position has ever tried to do that. Write a 6-minute epic depressive song. It have been
I like that. I like the chords.
It have been easier and more credible to make 10 versions of Motown junk. The new one is much more focused. Released in June 1993, second album Gold Against the Soul showed that the Manics had shifted to suit the trends of the time. Keep the Faith era Bon Jovi polish, mixed with the crunch of Nirvana. Lyrically, Richey Edwards would switch from outwardly socio-political to more introspective themes. Though its gloomy second single, La Tristeza de Herrera, would flirt with Happy Monday-esque baggy. Third single,
I like that.
Roses in the Hospital, would prove to be the album's standout track. It references not only the Clash's Rudy Can't Fail, albeit with less confidence about the titular Rudy's abilities. But also their own arrogant early single, You Love Us. Again,
Whoa, that was 92? That sounds like 1987 hair metal, doesn't it?
Again with the intention inverted. Enemies Stuart Bailey said, no other popsters could write a breakdown in such a weird and lovely way. Nobody else could combine a graceful tune with disturbing, self-mutilating lines like, and
I think they could, they just don't. They choose not to, right?
not seem contrived.
Oh, and
it's the Manics stripping down, giving you a neurotic peep show you'll not forget. The album cycle also showed the band as less confrontational than their initial run, even covering the Mondays' Wrote for Luck live, despite their previous venom for the baggy scene.
Hey. Okay, I'm starting to hear their filter. I'm starting to hear their style, what they do to stuff. Especially with these covers. I kind of get it.
Though Gold Against the Soul would sell quicker than the debut, with Roses in the Hospital providing the band with their second biggest hit yet. By the end of the year, they saw the album as a compromise. The band have changed. We thought we could resist record company pressures. All we wanted to do was go under the corporate wing, but you do get affected, and we lost the plot a bit before. Now, we're back to speaking in tongues.
Okay, this is going by fast. Where's the next section coming up? Okay, it's coming. It felt like there needed to be a next section coming up. Let me play it.
Before. Now, we're back to speaking in tongues. The plans for the next album would be less neurotic peep show, more emotional penetration.
Okay, wow. So they started off as and then they kind of backed off of that. Less politics, socio-political stuff, more introspection. Less yeah, y'all, this song, Nat West Barclays Midlands Lloyds. What? Is this like areas in their neighborhood? I could see how that would be too wordy for Americans. Be like, what are you talking about? Yeah, that's interesting. They do have a glam metal sound, but their image isn't glam metal. I guess, sort of. They have short hair, but I guess they did wear those blouses. That's kind of hair metal. I don't know. Weird. We thought we could resist record company pressures. All we wanted to do was to go under the corporate wing. But you get affected, and we lost the plot a bit before. Now we're back to speaking in tongues. Okay. I Want Everyone Corrupt, the release of Faster, June 1994, 1984, from Out of Nowhere and Top of the Pops. Song Faster, Manic Street Preachers.
That really annoys me when people go on about how they're having a good time, and their life's going really great. Most people are deeply unhappy. If they weren't, they'd lead a healthy life, but nobody does that. Most people can find 50 words to describe being unhappy, but only 1 or 2 for happiness. People always moan. We fucking do anyway.
Something I forgot to stop the video about was when they were saying they thought it was funny that when John Lennon got shot. Like, that's so... They're just trying to get headlines, right?
The public's first taste of the Manic's third album was the double A-side single, Faster PCP, released in June 1994. The former song opens with a line from the film adaptation of 1984. Amid a siren-like screech, John Hurt intoning the line,
I hate purity. I hate goodness. I don't want virtue to exist anywhere. I want everyone corrupt.
Their sound had changed again, recalling the punk sprint of Motown junk, but leaner, meaner, less Sex Pistols, more public image limited. The first time you see yourself naked, you cry. Moore has stated that Faster's gut punch takeoff had been inspired by the full gallop intro of Faith No More's From Out of Nowhere.
Oh yeah. Very similar.
But the first inklings of the band's sonic shift landed 4 months earlier on the Life Becoming a Landslide EP. The track Comfort Comes, post-punk riffage, almost an inverse Faster. As one of the few
Sorry, wait. What was that first song? That was our own song? Oh, they like made the same song just a little... Wow, it is faster.
As one of the few true collaborations between Edwards and Wire from their next album, Faster lyrically covers a lot of ground. From the panicked, hyper-literate boasts of the chorus, to the blinding nihilism of its most iconic couplet. Its first line echoes the opening salvo from Anarchy in the UK. I am an antichrist. I am an but refers to Edwards' relationship with self-harm as a coping mechanism in the face of society's judgment, especially since the for real incident 3 years prior.
Oh, right.
When I cut myself, I feel so much better. All the little things that might have been annoying me suddenly seem so trivial because I'm concentrating on the pain. But his very public self-harm was also having a noticeable effect on the band's fanbase. 2 months previous, the Manic Street Preachers played 2 massive shows in Bangkok, Thailand. While there, Edwards received gifts from fans, ranging from the cute, a giant plush Snoopy in reference to his identically named childhood dog, to the morbid, an expensive set of carving knives, with the accompanying note, "Look at me while you do it." Why the song is called Faster is up for debate. Wire has said it referred to society speeding up, which Bradfield has concurred. There's a lot of prophecy in terms of the acceleration of everything: joy, pain, death, consumerism. But at the same time, it seems to be a song about how Edwards has learnt to deal with living, literacy, self-mutilation, as well as purposeful starvation. He is literally one who fasts. After the single got to number 16, the band appeared on Top of the Pops.
Oh, hey, hang on. This is going by fast. I gotta say, I love the energy in that recording. I love the way he's singing it, and sonically it sounds really good. It, like, the music fits the words, and the sonics of it, the production fits the music. You know what I mean? There's just like there's a lot of passion in his voice, and it feels like genuine connection to a song.
To the blinding nihilism.
Wow. Okay. Where were we? Right. He fasts. Oh, this is getting dark. I see why they had the warning at the beginning.
Literally, one who fasts. After the single got to number 16, the band appeared on Top of the Pops, broadcasting to UK homes their new paramilitary look for their third album cycle. Especially noteworthy was Bradfield wearing a balaclava with his first name chalked on his forehead. The performance received the most complaints in Top of the Pops history, in the realm of 25,000 separate phone calls. Some were offended by their terrorist getup, though surprisingly many were just concerned about the open flames present on stage.
Wow. Yeah, I think I saw something about that performance on a video about most controversial Top of the Pops performances, something like that. And that was that. Did it also have something to do with the IRA? Like the timing of it had something to do with a bombing shortly before that, I think. Unless I'm mixing it up with something else. These guys are complicated. Faster kind of made them more visible. Okay. The sky is swollen black, creating the Holy Bible. Oh boy. January to May 1994, Girls Against Boys, The Evil of Men, and J.G. Ballard. Song of Walking Abortion, Manic Street Preachers.
While Gold Against the Soul had been recorded in the luxurious surrounds of Outside Studio in Oxfordshire, costing the band around £2,000 per day.
Hang on. Outside Studio, Oxfordshire. Show me on a map. It's still there. Ah, yes. Very nice. Very nice. Oh, that's not it. What is it? I guess this is where it used to be. 19 to 20 crates in. Okay. So I guess it's in there somewhere, maybe? Okay. No photos. Maybe it's not there anymore. Okay. I'm not finding anything about it. Okay. Move on.
Costing the band around £2,000 per day. For album 3, they tried something a bit more low-key. It was recorded in a really shit studio in the Red Light District in Cardiff. It was really bleak, seedy, perfectly suited to us, really. We didn't want to get into that decadent rockstar rubbish. We wanted to communicate with ourselves honestly.
I like that.
Their sound this time round would reintroduce more British post-punk influences. Bands like Magazine, Wire, Public Image Limited, Gang of Four, Joy Division, and Susie and the Banshees returned to their stereo. alongside the metallic sludge of Alice in Chains. They're like the American Joy Division, but a lot louder. Bradfield, who composed the majority of the music for the record, had been listening to Washington DC post-hardcore group Girls Against Boys, and especially their song, Learned It.
I'd been to see Girls Against Boys at the Garage on Highbury Corner, and Scott McLeod, the singer, was such a malevolent presence on stage. I was just really impressed with them as a band, and especially him. So I went and bought a couple of records, and this is a song that I really latched onto. And I think they had a small bearing in some of the music I wrote for the Holy Bible.
Edwards claimed he wanted Pantera meets Nine Inch Nails meets Primal Scream's Screamadelica. And while it didn't achieve this exact collision, it was still an extremely brutal sounding LP. According to Bradfield, the album was written with an almost academic discipline. We sat down and gave ourselves headings and structures, so each song was like an essay. Dubbed the Holy Bible, it delved unflinchingly into uncomfortable themes such as prostitution, the Holocaust, the death penalty, British imperialism, self-abuse, and suicide.
Oh boy.
Of Walking Abortion dwells on the failures of mankind that allowed fascism to succeed. While the intense humming of Evil and Mausoleum were inspired by the group's visits to Dachau, Belsen, and Hiroshima, all of which evoked the human capacity to inflict pain on its own kind. Mausoleum features an audio sample.
That sounds very familiar.
Mausoleum features an audio sample of J.G. Ballard that sums up better than anything else the album's intent.
I wanted to rub the human face in its own vomit and then force it to look in the mirror.
The Wire spun together This Is Yesterday and If White America Told the Truth for One Day His World Will Fall Apart. Edwards wrote at least 70% of the album's lyricism, especially its more vomit-gazing fare. Archives of Pain in particular, and his criticism of the glorification of serial killers, both fictional and real life, would show his evolving political compass.
That's an interesting subject matter.
Especially its pro-capital punishment message. We're not left-wing, but we do have roots in situationism and stuff. And when we formed the band, the miners' strike was going on our doorsteps. So I think when you listen to Archives of Pain, a very right-wing song, one of the most important things we've done, it shows how fucked up and confused our times are. And it shows that we're still arrogant and unafraid to make judgments, even miscalculated ones.
Okay. Wow. They're not shying away from the complicated issues. What is situationism, though? Never heard that. Situationism. Under the controversy of person-situation debate, situationism is the theory that changes in human behavior are factors of the situation rather than the traits a person possesses. Okay. Behavior is believed to be influenced by external situational factors rather than internal traits or motivations. Okay.
But the most uncompromising tracks on the album detailed the depths of Edwards' depression.
Man, I've kind of turned a corner on these guys. I thought I was going to hate them after watching this first section and all these interviews they gave where they just seem like I empathize with them. And I do like the sound of their music. I like the guy's voice. I like the production style they're going for. I'm into it. Okay. Such beautiful dignity in self-abuse. 4ST7LB. January to August 1994. Yes. Caroline's Story and Richey's Anorexia. Song Die in the Summertime, Manic Street Preachers. These guys these guys know how to make your butt pucker.
Divorced of context, A single listen to the Holy Bible would make it increasingly apparent that things were not okay in the world of its main lyricist, Richey James Edwards. Opener, yes, was sneeringly named after the answer the Manics would give to any major label or press request, and concerns their predilection for selling themselves at any given opportunity.
So they would just say yes in an interview. That's funny.
You might think it reads about prostitution, but it's the prostitution of what we felt over the last 3 years. It catches up with you, in all honesty. It caught up with Richey. There's a line in there. I think that might start with me and Richey having love bites on the first NME cover, then escalates to Richey or whoever sleeping with groupies to cutting yourself. Yes, also fleetingly references Edward's self-harm, but also more specifically his bulimia. His battles with his weight and self-image would reappear most glaringly in the album's disturbing centerpiece.
Days? Since I last pissed? He means urinate, right? Not get drunk. Probably. How do you go days without urinating? Does that happen? I can barely go an hour without urinating. Guess he's not drinking water.
Named after the weight under which death is considered a medical certainty for an adult anorexic. Within an album of uncomfortable listens, 4 Stone 7 Pounds is perhaps his most harrowing 5 minutes. Neither damning nor glorifying anorexia, it remains a grim window into Edward's life. In the press, he had claimed to admire.
I know they're talking about some deep stuff or whatever, but I really like that chord progression and the melody.
Window into Edward's life. In the press, he had claimed to admire ultra-thin supermodels like Kate Moss and Kristen McMenemy, and noted that his daily diet consisted of merely a jacket potato, grapes, and half a bottle of vodka.
Oh.
I just think Kate Moss is pretty. She looks delicate. That's what I like about her. I'm not the kind of person who could like Cindy Crawford. That's not my type of look. Previously, on songs like Little Baby Nothing, many assumed Edwards was using a female voice to comment on the external. But on 4 Stone 7 Pounds, the protagonist is characterized as a teenage girl. Her victories over food and dwindling body mass are used to detail his own personal body image issues. Musically, the song alternates between distorted, serrated chords, churning bass akin to the introduction of the Jams, the Eaton Rifles.
Okay.
With hack.
Y'all, I feel it's so interesting. They're being inspired by specific songs and then take that song and kind of heighten it into another thing. At first I thought they were just copying. Like there were a couple, like that Faith No More song. Seemed like pretty close. Like there could be a lawsuit coming. But these others, I hear the influence, but they are changing it quite a bit and actually elevating it.
Gang of Four style solos from Bradfield, puncturing the diary entry lyricism. Because of its confessional nature, 4 Stone 7 Pounds was the set of lyrics that Bradfield found hardest to write music and give voice to. There are moments on the Holy Bible where I felt I was being really precarious about singing the thoughts of other people, channeled through Richey, but I felt slightly uneasy doing that song. I was glad when I finished. I felt like I was crying when I wrote it. It was a weird feeling. The song's last third converts to an elegiac waltz. Its protagonist finally at the point of inner peace, potentially due to her death. The sample at the beginning is from the 1994 BBC documentary Caroline's Story, which follows its focus Caroline Neville Lister through her struggles with anorexia.
I eat too much to die and not enough to stay alive. I'm sitting in the middle waiting for something to come along and take me away.
And who would die only a few months after the documentary was filmed. In a similar way that cutting would make him feel in control, not eating would feel the same urge. An ideal coping strategy due to the fact that he felt that no one could stop him. In the song, it is obvious he knows that it is a problem, but not knowing how to fix it, he twists it into a superiority complex. The best thing is knowing that no one can do fucking anything about it. People can't actually hold you down and force food into your mouth.
Yeah,
they just can't do it. And someone can't be near you for 24 hours a day to stop you from doing something to your body. And ultimately, they've got no right to anyway, because it is your
the main
body.
Thing. That's the main thing. I bet if enough people wanted to hold you down and make you eat something, they could do it. But it's not socially acceptable. So I guess it's about control. He says the best thing is knowing that no one can do effing anything about it. Wow. Man. This woman, Caroline, oh my gosh. Oh, that's tragic. Yo, this is making me sad. Okay.
And someone can't be near you for 24 hours a day to stop you from doing something to your body. And ultimately, they've got no right to anyway, because it is your body. After playing the Enemy stage at Glastonbury Festival in late June 1994, 2 months before the Holy Bible's release, Edwards went missing. When he was eventually found, he had subjected himself to a 2-day binge of self-destruction. He was severely malnourished, had fresh wounds all over his arms, and was in serious need of medical and psychological help. After a week in Witchurst Hospital, he was checked into the private mental health institution, the Priory, for a 10-week stay. I think that when he was admitted to hospital, he was down to about 6 stones, which for a 5'8", 25-year-old is pretty grim.
I've no reference for how heavy a stone is. How heavy is 6 stone? 84 pounds. Oh, wow. Man. Yo, I feel so sorry for, like, at first I thought this guy was just being a little bit, but he was wounded. He's just hurt. Somebody hurt him. All that stuff he was saying about other bands and, like, that was nothing. That was a hurt little boy. Okay, go on.
Any association with self-abuse and self-control is pretty romantic in a naive sort of way. But obviously, the reality of anorexia is much worse than the idea. It's like a slow death. The press were told he was suffering from nervous exhaustion. As rumours swirled, many speculated that Edwards had tried to kill himself and morbidly searched the band's new album for clues. Just like how many assumed that the Nirvana song, I Hate Myself and Want to Die, was ironic until it was prophetic. Die in the Summertime leapt out in its directness. I think this song and 4 Stone 7 Pounds are pretty obviously about Richey's state of mind, which I didn't quite realise at the time. Even if you're quite close to someone, you always try to deny thoughts like that.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, he's so right. People can be so good at disguising their trauma, and we don't want to believe that stuff. The aftermath of the Holy Bible. August 94 to February 95, Richey's back, U.S. Press Tour, and Closer. Song Bright Eyes, live, Manic Street Preachers.
Following his exit from the Priory in October, Edwards seemed to be getting better, eating more, refraining from cutting, and actually trying to learn his guitar parts. Getting to the point where he's now moderately high in the band's live mix. I can play a bit, but compared to James, I can't play much at all. Most people think I go on stage and I'm not even plugged in at the back, but I do actually make a noise. Either that or there's someone behind the curtain, crouched down playing my bits. The group would join both Therapy and Suede as the support band for some mainland Europe shows, followed by their own UK headlining tour in the winter of 1994. Sometime in January 95 was set aside for rehearsals for their next release, while in February they had a US press tour planned, with Bradfield and Edwards hoping to finally crack the American market with their own particular brand of hype. But it never happened. The night before they intended to fly to America, the 1st of February 1995, Richey Edwards went missing again, but this time was different. 2 weeks later, his car was found, abandoned next to the Severn Bridge. Wire spoke with NME in the aftermath, simply seeking answers. If Richey does not want to come back, then that is fine. We just want him to give us a call. We are genuinely worried. He has never disappeared like this before. At the day of disappearance, he was 27 years old. He has not been seen since. The Holy Bible forevermore.
Now I remember why I've heard of Manic Street Preachers, y'all. I remember why. That's why. Oh, poor guy, man. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Years old. He has not been seen since. The Holy Bible forevermore would be seen through this lens, as the last album from a tragic songwriter, compared to Nirvana's In Utero, Nick Drake's Pink Moon, and Joy Division's Closer, adding a whole other layer of morbid intrigue and lore on what was already an extremely disturbing yet brilliant album. Despite the extra press attention the Holy Bible received as a result, it would remain the Manic Street Preachers' lowest selling album, taking 20 years to go gold in the UK, but now it stands as their most important release. Said Mark Edwards of Stylus magazine, The Holy Bible is easily one of the best albums of the 90s, ignored by many, but loved intensely by the few who've lived with it over the years. It puts everything the Manics have done since to shame, not to mention nearly everything else in music.
Libraries Gave Us Power, A Design for Life. April 1996, Peter Hook, If You Tolerate This, and That Kind of Confusion song, A Design for Life Ministry. Orchestra.
During Edwards' period of treatment at the Priory, the Manic Street Preachers had played a couple of festivals as a three-piece, but to do that long-term seemed to the band as a betrayal. Said Wire, if it ever comes to the point where he's not coming back, we won't continue. It's impossible to say what will happen. The band had been left not with a full stop, but with a question mark. Peter Hook, formerly of Joy Division, came up to Sean and was quite nice, and said sorry to hear about Richey and stuff. And Peter goes, at least we had a body. Which to me, that's brilliant. That's what I want someone to say.
Yeah, that's a good point, because they don't know. Like, wow. Oh, God.
To a lot of people, that would just seem cold, taking the piss.
I get it.
I thought it was such a lovely thing to say.
Yeah.
After months of debating the issue amongst themselves and Edward's parents, it was decided they should carry on. On the 15th of April, 1996, the Manics returned with the single, A Design for Life.
I like that they got the parents' blessing. I like that they got their blessing.
On the 15th of April, 1996, the Manics returned with the single, A Design for Life. Again, their sound shifted, never able to return to the abyss. Their new material was widescreen, string-laden, blue-collar anthemic, but their lyrics remained as incisive, now exploring their working-class identities.
I've heard this.
Which alongside the similar...
I've heard that song, and I like it. I've heard that song, and I like it. Yes.
Now exploring their working-class identities.
Sounds familiar.
which alongside the similarly themed Common People the year prior, meant that the Manics were finally in vogue. A Design for Life would be their biggest hit yet, reaching number 2 in the UK charts, denied the top spot by Return of the Mac by Mark Morrison.
Once again.
The Manics would grow in profile and record sales throughout the rest of the 90s, becoming one of the biggest bands in the country, managing a couple of multi-platinum albums and 2 #1 singles in the Spanish Civil War themed power ballad, If You Tolerate This, Your Children Will Be Next. And the back to basics, agic punk of the masses against the classes. As the band changed, their audience diversified. When they sold out Cardiff's Millennium Stadium on New Year's Eve 1999, no longer were they playing just to the faithful, rabid, diehard fans. Most had no idea who Richey Edwards was.
Oh, wow.
But for those that know, that have discovered, lived and breathed his words and references from the Holy Bible, his impact is immeasurable. People talk about catharsis, about an emotional connection, but I see being on stage as much simpler. There's a sporting dynamic to it. I love the physicality, feeding off the crowd the way a footballer would. But then you'd get back to your hotel room, and that silence would be deafening. That's when it hit home. You'd think, Richey would have liked that moment tonight. Like if we played faster, and a very visible minority went mental, while the guys in Sheffield United tops were going, what is this? Richey loved that kind of confusion. Thanks for watching. So what do you think? What's your favorite track on the Holy Bible? Let me know by commenting down below. If you like this video, why don't you do me a favor and share it with a couple of people?
Y'all be sure to go to Trash Theory and like and subscribe. Damn. I really didn't think there was any way that I was going to come around to feeling any kind of love for these guys. But I do. Man. They're very talented. I'm glad they finally got the success that they wanted. I wish Richey got to see some of it. I mean, I guess he did. Damn. Let's listen to the Holy Bible. Feels weird to say that. Hey, have you heard the Holy Bible? Why no? Tell me about it. Does an audiobook of the Bible come up? Oh, it does. Okay. Yes, it's the first song. I think my favorite song is Faster. I like that one. I think it fits his voice well. This was sad, so y'all. This was depressing. I'm so sorry. I feel like I learned something. I don't know. Well, y'all, I'd like to thank my patrons. I'd like to thank my Buy Me a Coffee folks. Thank y'all for watching this with me, and I'll see you next time. Later. What a bummer.